Hello and welcome back here in Brickworld, my Lego City project, and today's update is going to be one big update behind the train station building at that area where the platforms are located. As you can see right now, there's that grayish base plate on the right side, and that's the area we are going to finish in today's update. That's one big area with more than 3,000 studs, so it's really a big update to that area, so stay tuned for one big update. We are starting by removing the train tracks because we have to build some stuff under the train tracks to have that area we need to work at. So we have some plates here in some different colors because, as always, I'm using different cheap colors for stuff you are not going to see later, and then we are adding our gray or dark gray plates on top of it. That's just the underneath layers for my train tracks because they are a little bit higher as in reality, and as you know, realism is one big and one important part here in the brick world. And as you can see here in the speed build, I'm adding all these gray plates here. It's not the complicated part of my city because the train tracks are just in the grid here, so we can just build it without the usage of any tiles for curved tracks or stuff like that. So everything is in the grid, and that makes it much more easier. Now we can put in our train tracks back into that area here. As you can see, just putting them back a little bit, press on it, and then everything is in its place. So you have 4 different train tracks here. All in all, there are 8 different train tracks in that big station, and that's how it looks at the moment. Yes, they are missing the light bluish gray tiles. That's something we are going to add in a second, and then we have to build all the stuff in between the train tracks, and then we are going to work at the platform on the left side. That's one big update, as I said, today, and now we can start by working with the tile work, and it looks much more better. It's in light bluish gray because, for example, here in Germany, it's normally concrete used and not wood that you used in times before today. And you are seeing here all the chaos on my table. It's unbelievable how much chaos I have in my city when I'm working at it. We are going to the platform itself now, working at it, and it's all the same time. I'm using a dark bluish gray bricks here on the sides of my platforms, and then I'm adding all these plates on top of it. On the side we are using, of course, dark bluish gray because you can see them, and in the middle I'm using, as always, colors I'm getting for a very cheap price because you're not going to see any of that stuff later, so I can use the cheap colors for that big project. Here you can see how I'm measuring the distance of that different columns or for the roof of my platforms, because there's always 14 studs in between, or 16 studs when you're measuring the center of the columns, and then I can build around it my light bluish gray tiles, and then everything will be later at the right location. We are adding 4 new minifigures, so we are now at 760 minifigures in the city, just with some little storytelling. On the right side you are seeing that yellow area, that's the smoking area. It's normally here in German train stations. You're not allowed to smoke inside any train in Germany, and normally you are not allowed to smoke even in the train station or on the platforms, but you are allowed to do that in special marked areas like that yellow area. That's the first part of the new part we are going to add at the roof, and we have to put on or in the cable here into that strip light, so we have the electricity going to all the other strip lights here, and these green stuff is just markings for my work. Here you are seeing how I'm adding the details in between the train tracks, just some tires, some green stuff, and then we are going to add some plants and then we are going to add some rubbish stuff. It looks much more realistic with that, and we can make a little test drive with our train. We're also adding some more for the overhead lines. That's the design I'm using here in my city, and I bought a lot of stuff just for the overhead lines, and that's enough for much more overhead lines, so we can add it to the city. And that's how it looks right now with the added stuff here, and it looks much more complete now on that area. You can see here all the stuff is done here. I added more overhead line posts, and yeah, that area is going much more bigger and bigger, and we have now all of that stuff here. I had to rearrange some of the posts for the overhead line because I changed some stuff, and it's not the realistic measurement, but about 80 centimeters between some two posts is a perfect distance for the overall look. Here I'm adding a kind of bridge for the overhead lines because it's here in the area with all the switches, it's easier to have a bridge like that for the overhead lines, and it makes it also a little nice detail here that you're not every time having the same posts for the overhead line. And yeah, just a quick overview. Everything is now done. Here we have 80 centimeters. All the overhead line posts are rearranged, and all of that area here is now fully done. And of course we have a lot of more area to work with, but also here's a changed bridge here, and everything is done here, so I'm really satisfied with all that stuff here. And it's not all for today, because we are going to add some more overhead lines on the other side of the table, but I really like how that looks at the moment here. It's as realistic as I wanted it to have, and I really like all that stuff here with the trains and the overhead lines. Here's the signal box. Now we're going to add some missing overhead line posts here in that area, just a little bit more to have that also completed. Here are the new overhead lines. We have our two lines going to left and two to the right, and then we have our overhead line posts here at the right locations, making it more complicated, not complicated, completed of course. And I really like how all of that looks right now with the train station and the train tracks here and the platforms here, and it's getting more and more completed, and I really like that look because that's exactly what I wanted to have when I started that project with that very big train station, because my goal is to have it like in the real life, like a model train stuff, you know, from model train stuff, but not in Lego. That's something I never saw in that detail, so that's my main goal, to have that in my city, and I really think we are on the right way to have that goal reaching in the distant future. But at the moment it's like I wanted it to have. And as always, what do you think about the stuff we did today? We got a big upgrade to the train station in the background and all the stuff here. So as always, write me in the comments what you think about today's update. Do you have any ideas? Write them in the comments under the video. And that's it for today. Until next time, bye.